And now, here are some scenes from next week's, finishing with Mr. Cooper, starring Pat Cooper.
Gee, I really hope Mr. Cooper likes what I've done here.
First of all, I'm ashamed of you. This is not a good finish. Not a good finish.
I said
it's not a good finish.
I did what you told me. I did what you told me.
Not good finish. You don't understand. It's not a good finish. The guy don't understand. It's not a good finish. When I say it's not a good finish, it's not a good finish.
What the hell is he looking at?
I think he's trying to stretch out the double chin.
I think he's watching where all his hair blew away.
Whatever it is, it's on every book.
He's always looking up there.
Every book. Movie memories, TV show memories.
Hi, I'm Starfleet Commander Ed Feldman.
And I'm Joe L'Erario, alias Yeoman Rand.
If you'll remember last week, Tonto went to town on Furniture to Go,
Yes.
which is our show. Tonto went to town and Kimosabe dressed up like the old prospect.
Actually, what we did, we took this wonderful home bar here, and we stained it, and we shellacked it, and we stained it again, and we're getting ready to shellac and varnish.
And on the little bar, we stripped and we bleached, and we're going to do more to it today, but we haven't figured out what.
So let's, right now, Scotty, beam us over to each side. Okay, here we go. There we go. Now,
for the miniaturization.
Remember last time we brushed on the shellac. Well, this time
I'm going to brush on.
I'm going to spray it on.
Well, I brush and inhale.
Oh.
Why are you spraying on instead of brushing?
Well, I'm spraying it on because
I can't understand you.
see these panels here? The panels there. I sprayed a little toner over them, a golden oak toner with a little can tone spray, just to even it up a little bit.
Little can tone spray.
And I can't brush that with shellac because it's alcohol-based and it may pull that toner off, so no hands can touch it and no brushes can touch it. So I'm going to spray it on with the sprayer.
And I'll put on my respirator as soon as the cloud comes over.
Now we get the return.
Ooh. I don't have to shellac the inside because the mirror will be there.
I can see the prettiness of the old wood and the new wood. Right down the line there. There we go.
The fact that this is golden oak makes the orange shellac very conducive to revealing its beauty.
Carlton, the mist. It's a strange mist. It's coming and it's turning all the wood gray. What is that cloud sound? I don't know, but if Uhuru crosses her legs one more time, all the saskets will blow.
Latest piece of conceptual art, L'Erario bound. Later, Christo will wrap me if he has enough fabric.
Captain, the lions have got me, sir. I'm sorry.
Can I get a bird to pick out his liver? Guess what? The shellac has dried, as it is wont to do, and now we sand with 400.
This is a 400 wet and dry sandpaper, and we're sanding dry, of course. And you want to sand the flats of the paper. We've cut the sandpaper, folded it thrice, as we always say.
All the flats of the bar, actually.
All the flats of the bar, right. Flats of the bar.
However, you can and should fold the paper into corners and get those little corners and the little cove moldings.
But don't you dare ever sand carvings like this with fine paper, because what'll happen is the paper's going to rub over all the raised areas.
And those lions will need dental work.
They will. But the paper will rub over the raised areas, and we all like that. but it'll show through. You'll have light spots afterwards. You had a dog named Light Spot.
Wait a minute, he's come back.
But you can sand flat areas.
And of course, after you sand, you must get the little sticky paper rag. It's called a tack rag. And that gets up all the dirt and dust and sanding dust.
Now, when we varnish, we're going to use a quick dry varnish.
Are you giving the ending away?
No.
You know, people come in and tune back.
A tease.
What kind of varnish are they going to use? But that's what we're going to do next.
Varnishing.
We stained, we shellacked, we stained, we shellacked.
And now we're varnishing with a quick dry varnish. It dries in about 30 minutes to the touch.
Because we don't have time.
Never have time. And when you have a situation like this where you have panels and rails and stiles, always, just like sanding, do the panels first. Go from the top, bring the varnish down, go from the bottom, bring the varnish up, and then fill in the center.
Now, when you have little carvings such as this, you dab in there first, and then you run your brush over it to smooth it out.
Yeah, see, a lot of people have the problem when they varnish, they load the brush too much. Watch when I varnish and I brush this. See it all dripping down there?
That's goofus.
That ain't right. You got to get all that varnish off.
This is gallant.
You want to dab the varnish in, like this here. When you dab it in, no runs, no sags, no tears.
Just a lot of good fumes.
Mr. Lion.
Now, if we would have sanded those teeth down, they wouldn't look nearly as attractive as they do now. We're using just a standard brush. We're not using the Badger brush today.
Now, this is a brush for oil paint, latex or oil.
Now, no matter how you try, you're still going to get a little bit of collection of dripping varnish in areas like this. So just after you do the whole area and the brush is relatively dry, then go in there and smooth it all around.
Do those panels. Make sure you get into the insides, too. A lot of people miss those areas, those recesses.
We never do.
I never missed recess when I was in school. I never failed recess. Everything else I did.
Lunch you failed one time.
Well, my mother always gave me the wrong sandwiches. There we go.
Now this egg and dart over here, this is easy enough just to brush over. And then if I have any spills.
Another thing when you're varnishing, always remember to tap. Don't scrape the brush like this. A lot of people do that. Bubbles run down into the varnish. Then you got a bubbly varnish.
Which is good for festive occasions. Hey, Craze, you gonna varnish tonight?
Oh, yeah, I think so, Joe.
We're putting the varnish on with the bar top. This is a Badger brush. It's about a $90 brush, $85, $90.
You didn't pay for that.
No, I borrowed it from somebody quite a while ago.
Now, this is a bar top varnish, which is different than the quick dry varnish we put on the rest of the bar.
And you want to use this anytime you're doing a tabletop or especially a bar top where there's going to be a lot of liquid, a lot of orange juice, a lot of lemon juice, whatever.
A lot of sweat.
It's going to keep the liquids out of the bar.
It's also got hardeners on it. It'll build up thicker and better because people with their elbows and their screwdrivers, both kinds.
Usually you want to, after you stain the bar, however long it takes you to get to it, I mean, you want to tack rag it. That's what Ed just finished doing. And then you apply the varnish, and there's quite an art to applying the varnish.
You got to get a rhythm up.
If you varnish real fast, you're going to make a lot of bubbles, which are going to make you very unhappy.
Bubbles come later. When they order the Asti.
When you're finished, then you drink the Asti or the champagne.
And remember, after you put it on, you always pull the brush gently in a straight line across the varnish to get that nice, even line. Nice curve work there. I saw you go right around that curve. That's why the brush has a racing stripe on it.
Yeah, now we pull this, drop it down, pull the varnish. Drop it down, pull the varnish. As I said in the much earlier show, it's kind of like a yoga with fumes. Yeah.
Actually, varnish doesn't have bad fumes. That stripper, that's a mess.
But you should always have the windows open.
Look, you have Lake Titicaca over in the middle.
Well, I'm going to get that, but I want to get the varnish applied to the whole surface, and then we can reprise the airplane.
And remember, when you do certain kind of operations, you can stop in the middle and then start later. When you start to varnish, you really want to go all the way through to the end.
And one of the biggest mistakes people make,
All kinds of peoples.
all kind of peoples, is they put too much finish on. You know, you only need 2 coats. Put this 1 coat on.
Nice vest and a hat.
Sand it down, and then put a final coat on. A lot of people put a lot of coats on, and the more coats you have, the more susceptible it is to damage, so...
Now look at him go. Look at him go. He's an artist. He's a dessert topping. He's a floor wax. Back, back, just a little more back.
If there was a cliff, I'd go right off, huh? And then it would be your show.
Now you do a really good job.
Oh, yeah, of course, this is yours, right.
This is the small bar.
This is the martini bar.
And we just finished sanding with 220 after bleaching.
Because the bleach is water-based and it raises the grain. So once it dries, you want to sand it lightly with 220. Make sure you wear a dust mask when you do that. You don't want it burning the nose hairs.
Right, because it's got bleach on it still.
Exactly.
And then tack rag.
Tack rag it, and now we're applying the semi-gloss
Lacquer.
lacquer.
Brushing lacquer.
And it's a very nice.
And I'll do the doors.
See how blonde it is?
Even though it's blonde, it'll pick up the grains of the wood there.
This was a very common practice back in the 50s to bleach the wood, and they even to hide, because this is plywood with a veneer on it, to hide the core structure in here of the plywood, they painted it black. But we're going to do that as soon as this first coat is dried. We'll sand everything down, apply the black, and then apply a second coat of the same lacquer. How's that terminology for you there, huh? There we go.
I like this wood. I wouldn't want to bleach like an oak or something.
This is what you call the straw look.
What kind of wood is this? This is like a...
Walnut.
The walnut.
It's walnut, and here again is that core structure up here that has been sanded. It was filled at one time and painted black.
I'll let that door. Of course, you don't want to lift up door number 1 until it's dried.
You might find Monty Hall behind it, yeah?
This is door Nothing like a Jewish guy from Canada. That's really confusing. What, should I say A or oi?
There we go. And now we lift this up a little bit to varnish.
Be really careful. That's lacquer, remember?
That's right. I'm so used to using varnish. With the lacquer, you got to work fast.
Because lacquer dries quickly. That's why you can, the brushing lacquer is good because you can put on a few coats in one day and really build up your gloss.
Yeah, this'll dry in a half hour.
I went out with this girl who had a really built-up gloss.
Uh-huh.
It was wonderful.
Too much on the lips, huh? Lip gloss.
She had gloss build up. You got your big gloss.
There we go.
She came from the country. Way out in the country. You know what her zip code was?
E-I-E-I-O. I think we all saw that coming.
We're coming right across the cornfield, didn't we?
So
Did we go into why exactly is Stephen King famous? We couldn't figure it out.
Because he writes a book a month, that's why.
Nah. This morning, went to the bathroom, wrote a book in there.
Well, he knows Steve Allen. Steve Allen does that, too.
He just
Writes a song on a toilet.
Slips the paper under the door. Honey, I'm almost done, but here, I got a book. Hold still, it'll be great. You'll conquer the world. It'll
Get
be
out of here.
Okay, all right.
Get out of here.
Hey, Joe's doing one thing and I'm doing another.
How about that?
There's movement, variety. It's fabulous.
I'm going to dance over here. I'm sanding the bar top down. You go look at what he's doing there first.
I made it sound a lot more exciting than that.
Yeah.
There used to be a stripe of black all the way around, and there is sort of a worn stripe of black all the way around, but I'll add to that and make it a real stripe all the way around.
Make it a yellow stripe like Chuck Connors had on Branded.
You know, he wasn't really a traitor. He just played one on TV.
Now, I recoated the bar, well, the bar top is dried, and I'm recoating it. I'm sanding it down with some 400 paper.
I wasn't finished talking about the stripe.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm painting a stripe. What can you know?
See how I'm sanding it down to it's almost like a flat color, and I'm making every effort not to blow lots of dust around because I've already varnished the bar rail because you can't see that. You can't see me when I'm varnishing out there. My back is to you. But here's the tack rag. We take off with the tack rag, and we get back the lovely brush again that's been cleaned. And we're going to drop more varnish on. This is the second and final coat. I think I said last time you should not put more than 2 coats on, unless you have ample time for drying.
Ample time.
Ample time. Most of these varnishes take about...
I saw her at the Gaiety Burlesque.
She was at the Trocadero, wasn't she?
Ample time.
With linoleum.
She'll lay you flat. And my favorite, Carlotta Tendant. She's open all night.
No, my favorite was Belly Lugosi.
So I'm going to paint the stripe all the way around. Ugh. As well as on the vertical elements. And then we will put another coat of lacquer on the baby bar.
When you apply bar top varnish like this, make sure you let it dry. The longer you let it dry, the better it's going to harden. It's going to adhere. The new varnish is going to adhere to it.
And don't you have to wait for the first coat of varnish to be completely dry before
At least
adding?
24 hours. I used to do bar tops at night in the city, Philadelphia, and that was always a howl and a hoot.
Ooh.
After the last drinker went home, I was there. Then
Drinking.
I started drinking. Then I finished the bar between the hours of 12 and 5. Got the first coat on. And let me tell you, that stale smoke of beer and...
You heard of
that
Lost
smell.
Weekend? Joe's movie, Lost Decade. What are you doing? Are you rubbing it out?
I'm rubbing it out. Well, you know, the second coat dried. I sanded it down with some 400 paper till a gray dust appeared. And then I took some 4-0 steel wool, 2 pads, see? And 2 pads together. Unfolded the pads. And then rolled it up tight, so you get a big knockwurst, see? Like that, and then you start rubbing.
I like it the way it looks now with a little bit of gray area. Now, what am I doing with my egg drop soup? It's not egg drop soup. It's lacquer. It's brushing lacquer. And I've got a brush. How handy. And I'll be brushing my little bar with a second coat of lacquer. Now, this black paint can only be brushed once. I don't want to go back and forth over it, or else the lacquer will start to mix with the black paint and pick it all up. So I'm just going to go over it once as well. Well, maybe twice. But not a lot. Then down below, just over the stain, I can brush again.
Can I talk about rubbing out again?
No.
Because after you get the steel wool done, you can go an extra step further, and you can take some water and apply some water to the bar top, just like this here. See? And you sprinkle a little nice oregano bottle. This is pumice, 4F pumice. It's fine pumice. It's an abrasive. And you can rub with this. Okay? And you go back and forth with the grain till it gets nice and smooth, nice and shiny. Then you would wipe all that off with some wet water and some paper towels.
That wet water.
And then you can go, as opposed to dry water, then you can go right to the wax. And this spot over here, I've saved for the wax, see? Put a little bit of wax. It's a dark-colored wax. You could buy a paste wax, too, see? This is the paste wax. Put a little paint thinner on a rag. Rub it in there, get it all wet, and then just squeeze it on there.
And I think everybody out there is thankful that none of our products have gray tape on them anymore.
You apply the wax, let the wax dry, and then just buff it off. And if you got a bar top or any tabletop that you finished with the bar top varnish and you rubbed out, let it sit for every 6 months or so. You should apply a new wax on it.
Sure, they all have that time.
Like you do, Ed. You do that, don't you?
Of course, my house is a show place.
And speaking of nice bars,
let's go have a drink. Here we are at Old Original Bookbinders, and this is the President's Room, or as I like to call it, the Hall of the Lesser of Two Evils, with the owner, John Taxon.
How you doing, John?
I'm doing great.
And we're here in the President's Room because they got one of the finest examples of an old-style bar that you'll ever see, especially if you're in Philadelphia. This is, I believe, a Brunswick bar. I don't know how old it is exactly.
Now, we're doing a bar on our show, but this bar has a big story behind it, does it not, John?
Yes, it does.
Well, a big bar needs a big story.
Come on down. What is the story?
My grandfather bought the restaurant about 55 years ago.
Azoy.
And about 5 years after that, he had purchased this building. It was just the main dining room at the time. he was starting to redo this and happened to be on vacation out west in Nevada, visiting some of the ghost towns. He went in this old saloon and found this fantastic bar. Absolutely loved it. He called back home to get the measurements. He measured the bar out there, and it fit almost perfectly. So he got in contact with the right people. He bought the bar, had it taken apart piece by piece.
And reassembled here.
Sent back here and reassembled.
And you say almost perfectly, that's why.
Almost.
You got that little space that was filled in with the oak and the pine.
It didn't reach the top of the ceiling, so we had to fill it in.
And the rest of the bar is beautiful African mahogany.
And African mahogany is usually regarded as the finest mahogany because it's the most expensive and it's the densest. It comes from Africa, of course. That's why it's called African mahogany.
Hence the name.
The other mahoganies are Luan and the Philippine mahogany, of course, or Honduras. And this bar is
Al's mahogany.
Al's?
My Uncle Al.
Al's.
has
Well, he's got a stockpile of it.
mahogany.
Al's mahogany. That's real cheap.
Oh,
Yeah.
are you kidding? It's flakeboard, really.
But mahogany, you know, the African mahogany in its natural state is almost pink. But over a period of years, as old as this bar, it achieves this beautiful red color that you see. And all of the ornate carving is really carved. It's not stamped as a lot of the new furniture or carvings are on fireplaces or bars. You have the acanthus leaves on the corbels and the capitals. They're all wood. African
Don't talk
mahogany.
dirty.
No, not at all. Why, I said column?
No, you said corbel.
Oh, corbel. Yeah, well.
I have a heard.
And how do you keep this bar, especially the top, nice and shiny?
We use lobsters.
Look, this is the one you want to eat.
He's Johnny Ray.
Those wedding bells. Oh, hi. How you doing? Hey, we got everything finished. We stained, we shellacked, we varnished, we rubbed out, we waxed, we polished, and look, here's the before and the after.
Oh, hi.
Oh, hi.
And here's the old walnut bar that we stripped and bleached and finished with lacquer. It's fabulous. And here's the before and the after.
Hey, you need some WD-40 on those wheels.
Oh, gosh. And look what's inside.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's a martini bar with all the glasses and everything.
Now, ordinarily, here's the vermouth, here's the gin, and there's the olives.
And I'm thirsty.
Hey, come on out. Hey.
I got one here.
I'm Ed Feldman.
And I'm Joe L'Erario.
And as always,
be nice to your
furniture.
You know, I haven't had a martini in a long time.
This is something my uncle makes.
Really?
Yeah, it's called Old Hairy Thighs.
Coming up next, Bob Vila's home again. Join Mr. Fix-It himself for 2 back-to-back shows, adding contemporary convenience to antique homes, maintaining the class and charm. Stay with us here on TLC.